During the past 3 quarters, we have gone through the worst of the pandemic and economic stress. But now, with the release of multiple vaccines and decline in new cases in India, there is much optimism all around. We are now set to witness a strong rebound in economic activities, even as some advanced economies battle second and third waves of the pandemic. On Monday, when the finance minister presents the union budget, it would be premised on stronger economic growth, benign inflation, and return of normalcy on the international trade front. GST collections have been strong, giving the government room to spend more towards health, infrastructure, and education. There was strong festive demand in most consumer segments, be it in white goods, consumables, or automobiles. Policymakers have used this period to build the base for regaining growth momentum through various reforms, not to mention the timely infusion of liquidity into the financial sector, which has lowered interest rates all around. We saw increased demand for gold loans in the past quarters and expect the trend to continue as economic activities recover and as the unorganized sector regains its footing. During the year, we have significantly stepped up our digital infrastructure, and we continue to maintain our strong positioning in the online gold loan space. We have extended a doorstep gold loan facility to all our branches across India, which allows us to service customers even beyond normal working hours at their homes and offices. Coming to our results for the third quarter, here are some key highlights. Our consolidated AUM has crossed to 27,643 crores, up 14.7% year on year and 2.7% quarter on quarter. We are reporting a consolidated quarterly net profit of 483 crores for the quarter, a 19% improvement over the previous quarter. Gold loan AUM grew by 24% year on year and 2.4% on a sequential basis to 20,214 crores, in line with our guidance. The gold loan business accounts for 73% of our consolidated book. Our microfinance subsidiary, Asirvad Microfinance, has made an impressive turnaround. It entered the quarter with an AUM of 5,358 crores, an increase of 8% quarter on quarter. Asirvad posted a PAT of 17.8 crores versus a loss of 2.4 crore in the preceding quarter. Importantly, our collection efficiency has reached pre-pandemic level. India's automobile sector has bounced back in the last quarter, and our commercial vehicle finance division saw improvement in collection efficiency, reaching 110% levels. The CV division's AUM stood at 988 crore, down 7% compared to the preceding quarter, as we focused on recovery and consolidation. Our affordable housing portfolio is small but growing, and the asset quality remains stable. We remain comfortable on the ALM front. we continue to bolster our long-term funds, and just the other day, we have raised 600 crores from a LIC with a tenure of 7 years. With the availability of funds not an issue, our standalone average cost of borrowing declined by 18 bips to 8.95%. Thank you. And now it is over to our CFO, Mrs. Bindu, for a detailed look at the numbers.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks to all our stakeholders for attending the quarterly update call. I'm happy to report that we had a strong quarter despite the multiple macroeconomic challenges. In Q3, we have seen improvement across the businesses in disbursements, collections, and implementation and transformation of business-wise risk parameters. There is pickup in non-gold loan businesses, which is almost at pre-COVID levels. Given the soft macro environment, the company continues to follow a prudent approach to accelerating the growth in non-gold loan segments. We are carrying surplus liquidity across all businesses. During this quarter, on standalone basis, we have raised fresh borrowing of rupees 1,925 crore through term loan, WCDL and NCDs. Cash and cash equivalents on a consolidated basis at the end of the quarter was rupees 2,640 crore and undrawn bank line of rupees 2,502 crore, adding to nearly 5,000 crore surplus liquidity. Our CP exposure has come down to 8% against 24% a year ago, and in the standalone entity, the borrowing cost declined sequentially by 18 basis points to 8.95% despite the significant extension of average duration of borrowings. Our consolidated AUM for Q3 FY21 was rupees 27,643 crore, up by 14.7% year-on-year and 2.7% Q-on-Q. The growth was largely led by gold loans. Consolidated profit after tax was rupees 483 crore, grew by 19.2% Q-on-Q and 16.6% year-on-year. ROE on a consolidated basis was 29% and ROA was 6.1% for the quarter ended December 20. Talking about the gold loan business, which constitutes 73.1% of consolidated AUM, the gold loan AUM increased by 24.4% year-on-year and 2.4% Q-on-Q. Gold holdings stood at 68.24 tons. The tonnage was nearly flat Q-on-Q but was down by 7.2% year-on-year. As we have mentioned previously, we see an inverse relationship between gold prices and the gold tonnage growth. Our customers borrow as per their financing needs, so when the gold price go up, they pledge lower quantity of gold. Gold loan average ticket size and average duration was rupees 46,318 and 75 days respectively. Our total number of gold loan customers stood at 26.24 lakh. This is a net increase of 67,000 during the quarter. The gold loan book stood at rupees 20,212 crore. Auctions during the quarter were rupees 3.62 crore. Our weighted average LTV stands at rupees 2,963 per gram or 63% of the current gold price. Gold loan disbursements during the quarter stood at rupees 57,445 crore. The online gold loan book accounts for 59% of the total gold loan. Coming to the microfinance business, Ashirvad MFI AUM stands at rupees 5,358 crore, up by 7.8% Q-on-Q, and this business reported a PAT of rupees 17.78 crore in Q3 FY21 compared to a loss of rupees 2.42 crore in Q2 FY21. The collection efficiency from MFI business was at 99% in December, and the disbursements during the quarter was rupees 1,306 crore. We are confident that COVID impact is largely behind us and we foresee improved performance for Ashirvad in the coming quarters. The company has a capital adequacy of 24%. Coming to vehicle finance business, we have reported an AUM of rupees 988 crores, which is down by 7% Q-on-Q, and the disbursement for the quarter is rupees 116 crores. Collection efficiency was 110% and 112% in November and December respectively. We gave only 3 months moratorium to our vehicle finance customers versus the rest of the market, which allowed moratorium up to August. The home loan business had a total book of rupees 633 crores, which is up by 2.1% Q-on-Q and up by 5.4% year-on-year. It now operates from 47 branches and reported a profit of rupees 3.16 crores during Q3. Collection efficiency was 94% and 97% in November and December. Collection efficiency for the quarter at 94%, compared to 90% in Q2. Loan to NBFCs at rupees 242 crore and the other SME loans at rupees 210 crore. We have been steadily pruning this book over the last few quarters. Credit quality for this portfolio continues to be robust. Provisions and write-offs for the standalone entity during the quarter stood at rupees 29 crore compared to rupees 38 crore in Q2 FY21. We provided rupees 28 crore additional provision due to COVID-19 since March 2020. Our gross NPA is at 1.26% compared to 1.11% in Q2 FY21. The board has declared an interim dividend of 65 paise for this quarter. Our capital position is strong and the company is well capitalized with a capital adequacy ratio of 25.85%. Company's consolidated net worth stands at rupees 6,870 crore. The book value per share stood at rupees 81.2. We can now go for the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ashish Sharma from Enam Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just a couple of questions. First, on the microfinance book. So we have grown in this quarter. Have we increased our provisioning on the MFI book for the COVID stress? And how do we see the stress emerging from the state of West Bengal? I mean, what's our percentage of book which is in that state? That would be the first question. And second would be on what is the outlook on the borrowing cost. We've seen that for many banks and NBFCs the cost has come down, but we haven't seen the same sort of positive impact on the cost side. Do we see that in some quarters lag we'll see the benefit of borrowing costs? That would be the two questions, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Adya?
Yeah. On microfinance for this quarter also we have done provisioning. We have taken a provision of 48 crores, 48.4 crores. The overall provisioning is adequate, and we have done about close to 322 crores for the year. And this would definitely take care of the provisioning requirement for the year.
Okay. And in terms of growth outlook now, and on
we have shown a positive growth of AUM this quarter, and this will only increase as we go forward. And we certainly come back on the disbursement side. We have done about 1,300 crores this quarter, it will increase now substantially as we go forward.
Okay. And in the exposure towards West Bengal?
There are clearly signs of revival in all these stressed districts of West Bengal and Odisha and certain other states. As Group CFO mentioned, the collection efficiency has dramatically improved in all the places, and we don't find anything very alarming in any of the states. West Bengal was lagging behind, but now it has caught up, and we expect that as we go forward, it will come back to normalcy in Q1 of next year.
Okay. Could you quantify the exposure of Ashirvad in West Bengal?
Our West Bengal exposure is, we have got about 12% of our AUM. So
12% of AUM. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I had a question on borrowing cost.
Yeah.
Ma'am can, yeah.
Yeah. So Q1 and Q2 put together, we could achieve nearly 45 basis points in the cost of borrowing. So the new money is coming at a long tenure and with a slightly lower cost. So we expect the benefit to continue. The scenario continues. We expect a further reduction in the next quarter also.
Perfect, ma'am. Perfect. Thank you. That will be all. And all the best for the next quarter, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vivek Ramakrishnan from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Good evening. First of all, in the microfinance business, I had one question. Are the margins coming down? Because I see the net interest margin are coming down year on year. And is it because of any interest reversal that is looking like one-off? The second question that I had was on your CP book. You've reduced it significantly, though in nature, gold loan is a short tenor business. Is there any limit that you're keeping for the CP business in terms of increasing borrowings in the coming quarters? Thanks.
The margins, we operate on RBI guideline of the 10% margin. That is a margin cap. What has happened is the OPEX has increased in the last 2 quarters because of a lower disbursement and a lower AUM growth. Otherwise, our margins are still the same intact. As we go forward, as the disbursements increase and the AUM increase, we always calculated the OPEX as a percentage of the AUM. So it was 4.8 last year. It is now 5.6. And that will come down below 5 as we go forward. That's the pressure on margins because of the lower AUM growth. But also, we have done a lot of improvements on increase in cost of improving the number of the manpower has been increased to increase collection efficiency. So those things have shown immediate results, but the costs have gone up a bit. In the coming quarters and as we move forward, as the AUM grows, it will come back to normalcy.
This year we could raise a lot of bonds from the market through TLTRO and PCG. Also we could raise long-term money, and that is coming at a slightly lower cost. So that is the reason temporarily we thought of taking those long-term money so that our monthly maturities will come down. But CPs are available and it is coming at sub 4% kind of level. So we will increase the percentage, but temporarily we thought of taking this long-term money. That will give us long-term benefit in terms of tenure as well as on the cost, because these bonds coming at a lower cost compared to past. If we compare the March 20 bonds and the transactions which we did now, the cost difference is almost 2.5%. So that is the reason we thought of taking this long-term money and temporarily reducing the CP exposure. Going forward, we may slightly increase the CP exposure.
Thank you, ma'am. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Alpesh Mehta from Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, hi.
Sure.
Sir, first question is related to the overall ECL provisions outstanding on the balance sheet. Secondly, what is the total provisioning outstanding specifically for the microfinance portfolio? And lastly, for the vehicle financing portfolio.
Yeah. So, overall in the standalone entity, we are holding nearly 223 crore provision. So, on an average, we can say vehicle finance is holding nearly 6% provision. So, nearly 1,000 crore is the AUM, and we are holding 66 crore provision on the vehicle finance book.
So, just to get this right, 160 crores is for the gold loan portfolio and around 65-66 crores is for the vehicle financing.
Yeah, 66 for vehicle. Yeah.
Okay. And the microfinance?
Then on the MFI, also we are holding 6%. So the total amount is 322 crores.
Okay. And when we are giving this number, this includes everything, right? Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3 plus COVID, all the provisions put together.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And considering whatever the events which are happening into West Bengal and Assam, do you think so this entire provisioning of only 6% is sufficient, or we may have to buffer up the provisioning in that portfolio now? While the collection efficiencies have improved, but suddenly over the last 15 days to 1 month, what we are hearing, there have been some issues in terms of the collections again now.
No, actually, this our Assam portfolio is considerably small. We have only 38 crores for the 5,000 crores. And West Bengal also, as I said earlier, it's 3%. ECL provisioning, as you know, it takes into care what losses might occur in the next quarter also, and then we provide. So as it stands at 322 crores we provide, it should take care of the entire year, barring, as you say, some unforeseen circumstances. Otherwise, all of it is covered completely.
Okay, thanks. And just last question on the gold loan business. Now I can see that the ROAs have improved to almost 7%, and there have been significant increase into the competitive intensity. Any plans to reduce yields into that particular business? And what is the growth outlook for FY22 now? Would we stick to our guidance of around 15% kind of a growth rate for FY22? FY21 it's more or less over. So FY22, any sense on that?
We have been holding that view of 15% growth, annual growth, and we hope that we can achieve that in 22 also.
Okay, and sir, the ROA guide, obviously not specifically related to the ROA, but the ROAs are almost at 7% plus into this business now. So do you, just because of the competitive intensity, would you plan to reduce some yield and pass on the benefit to the customers?
Yeah, it will remain around 6 to 7%.
Okay, it will remain in that range. Thanks. Those were my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Lokesh Malia from SBI Funds Management. Please go ahead.
Hi. The question is on the MFI part. Can you state the total amount of 0 plus in Ashirvad as at December 31st? And what was this number on September 30th? The total overdues in the microfinance segment. And second, if there has been any disbursement to 0 plus accounts also during the quarter?
In September 30th, the 0 plus was 1,044 crores. On December 31st, it is 935 crores. So it has come down, and it is coming down as in January, as we speak, it has come down further. And to answer your question, we have not, the disbursement takes a certain method. We don't disburse everybody. Only when we are closer to maturity, we do the disbursement. But there are certain newer products we have introduced for the support of the people. So that disbursement has taken place, but it was not very significant. Out of 1,305 crores which we disbursed, this disbursement is less than about 150 crores or so, 140 crores. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhaval Gada from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity and congrats on recent performance. I had 3 questions, sir. First is, last quarter, could you give the billing collections data for MFI, Vehicle Finance and HFC for October, November, December, just to get color on that, and even if some trend on January, that would be useful. So that is the first question. Then I'll ask the next.
About MFI.
Dhaval, it is there in the presentation, but rather sir will explain.
Billing efficiency, you had collection numbers, but billing last time I remember in MFI it was 82% and collection was 91%. So just wanted to get where are we as far as billing collection is concerned.
Rajesh sir?
All collection, as I said, it has moved from October, November, December 91 to 93 to 99%. That's the overall collections. This was as compared to last quarter, it was 75% in August, 90% in September, and 93% in October. So that's the overall collection, which includes, of course, our total current collections plus the collections which we normally do when we do a disbursement, 1 or 2 installments of including that.
So normally, when the data that is there for last 7 months since April, on an average, the overlap between billing and collection is about 7%. So that is the same number. So basically, the billing number would be like 7-8% lower than the collection efficiency.
No, it has reduced now about 4 to 5%.
Okay. And okay.
Good evening, Jeevan Das here. For the HFC, billing and arrears you want separately or you want total collection?
No, billing and arrears separately, sir. Billing and arrears separately.
In October, our billing was 86.5 and arrears was 6%, thereby a total of 92.5. In November, it was 88 and 6%, that is 94, and December 90 plus 7 arrears, 97%.
Senthil, CV?
Yes, sir. Thank you. In quarter 2, overall, we had EMI collection versus billing around 74% and arrears collection was 16%. And in Q3, it has improved to 82% and 28% of arrears collection. And if you're looking at on a monthly basis, in the month of October, our collection against billing was around 81% and our collection against arrears was around 25%. And in November, it was around 79% and 31% on collection against arrears. And there was an improvement in the month of December where the collection against billing had gone up to 85%. And the collection against the arrears amount outstanding was around some 27%. So overall, there has been an improvement, when compared to Q2, from 74 to 82, and from 16% against arrears collection to 28%.
So the overall collection has reached 110% in CV.
Yes, sir.
Understood. Sir, just taking this forward, if you look at all the 3 non-gold businesses, basically they are 5 to 8% below in terms of pre-COVID billing collection efficiency. So in that context, given the level of provisioning that we have currently, don't you think that there is some shortfall in the MFI portfolio specifically, and also in the HF portfolio, these 2 portfolios? Any comments that you have as far as provisioning level is concerned? Because if I remember right, in HF, our billing number is to be 95, and right now we are at 90.
In MFI, we have provided 6%, 322 crores. 6% we have provided now. Provisioning is there already. So that is there. And as we move forward, the collection efficiency in the new book is 99 point something. So it is we are adequately provided for that.
Okay. So you don't see any further addition requirement in...
As I said, as I answered to another question, as of now, when you do a limited review, you take into account the entire year and provide. As of now, we don't, the requirement is, is only about that. We actually provided something more than what is necessary for that. So we think we may not require anything for quarter 4 if things are going as such what it is now.
Mr. Deondar?
Yes, sir. In fact, our pre-COVID in January, February was around 95 only, 95, 96. That is including arrears collection also. So we have reached and crossed that. In fact, in December, the billing is 90 and arrears is 7. So overall is 97%. If I remember that in February and March, we were around 96%, 97%, same level. So we have reached pre-COVID level.
Okay. And just... Yes, sorry.
Yes, sir. I think we would be reaching pre-COVID levels in Feb. And as of now, I think we have covered adequately by provisioning. So I don't think we would have any requirement for additional provisioning going by the trends. The trends have been increasing in the last couple of quarters, and hopefully we'll be able to better this quarter also. Yeah.
As you are aware, our portfolio is without any second phase moratorium for the vehicle finance business. So the first last 3 quarters, we took an aggressive provisioning, and now it is coming down.
Correct.
So the provisions are added.
Correct. Fair point, ma'am. Yeah. And just last point related to the gold business, related to the volume part. I'm sorry, I joined a little late, so in case you've covered that part, but just, going forward, are you surprised with the current level of degrowth that we are seeing in the gold business, even on sequential basis? And going forward, any comments that you have as to how this should pick up and, what would be the drivers for the pickup here? Yeah, those are the questions. Thanks.
So the key driver is the demand. So the volume has picked up. The underlying collateral has less significance because the people wanted so much money, they bring collateral. What is required to avail that much of loan. So when the gold price is down, they bring more collateral, and the collateral growth also starts increasing. Only this. So what we aim at with the gold price down or gold price up, we are hopeful of achieving a growth of around 15% that we are maintaining.
Understood. Okay. Thank you and all the best, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, we would request the participants to please limit your questions to 2 per participant. The next question is from the line of Prashant Sridhar from SBI Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Most of my questions have been answered. Just 2 things, if you can clarify. Is there any 0+ in the other loans of around 450 crores? And what is the incremental LTV on the gold portfolio?
So the incremental LTV, see, you are aware the LTV is capped at 75%. So the LTV, when the gold price is up, the LTV, the average LTV goes down. And gold price is down, the average gold price grows little. That's the only difference. So there will not be much difference in the LTV.
Sure. Done. Understood. If you could just clarify if there's any 0+ in the other loans of 450 crores.
Yeah. See, on the SME loans, there will be a small amount, the NBFC lending. We have considered a small provision wherever we felt stress. So there will be a small. maybe 20 crore put together.
Okay. So 20 crores on a portfolio of 450 crores. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shweta Daptardar from PL India. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. So I have two questions. One on the gold loan side. So 59% of your total gold is online. So can you just give a color as to how much is the share of existing customers and new customers, and how much is the share of existing customers with fresh collateral?
Yes. On the 59% gold loan, online gold loan on the total AUM, that means whatever be the outstanding we have as on 31st on 20,400 crore, 59% of that book is registered in this online model. Customer is onboarded in that, bank account also registered. They can transact through that model. That is on total. On the total customer base, whatever be the new customer coming, first instance what we seen on the 15 to 20% of the new customer onboarding in the online, because this is a new things in the market. The customers are yet to understand and all. But once they started doing transaction, second and third transaction onwards they are converting. So that way the balance customer also converting. So the first instance on new customer 20 and the existing customer also converting. So that way only we reach this 59, and there will be an incremental on quarter also from the AUM level.
Okay. So secondly, again in your gold loan business, so in the last quarter gone by, there were certain branch shuts in region of Maharashtra. So is it, of course it was due to political influence. So is it that there is difference in our incentive structure vis-a-vis industry? How did the employees got influenced? Can you just, throw color on the same?
All these are settled. So these are some political influence. No, these are not exactly by employees. We are aware about what is happening. So we need to settle with the concerned political parties. These are over. And all the branches are functional. Yeah. Not employees really. Yeah.
Okay. So one last bookkeeping question on MFI side. So what are the write-offs for this quarter vis-a-vis previous quarter? Thank you.
This time we wrote off 68 crores books. Previous quarter we didn't have any write-offs.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nilesh Saha from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yes. Hi. I have a question in regards to the MFI piece, right? Could you please talk about what percentage of the book is not active? Like what percentage of the book is not paying their due EMI?
See, out of the total 23 lakh customers, there are about 1 lakh customers are not what we call as not active, but that is also only till December. These people have never paid till December. So now, as per the RBI guidelines, we restructured the portfolio of those 1 lakh customers, and we have found that 18% of them have started paying in January. So which means that even that 1 lakh is coming down. So 1 lakh represents about 4% of our total customer base. And because we have now given them an additional 24 months and we have reduced their EMI as per the guidelines of RBI, we expect this percentage to come down further.
Okay. And I think you said write-off number, right?
Write-off is a policy of the company. Because the write-off is, anything which is over 180 days, we normally don't keep it. We write it off and bring down the AUM. But the collections are still, efforts will still be on. So it is more a accounting entry. Provision is different. Provision we would have already made long time back. Write-off is just, the next step on that.
Right, but the number you gave was 68 crores or something, right?
Yeah.
So is that so your total provision over the last 4 quarters is roughly about 220 crores, right? So this 68 is a part of that?
No. It's 322 is over and above that. Otherwise, the provision it would have been 322 plus the 68 crores.
Okay, I am getting a bit confused here because I can see your provision expense for this quarter is 48 crores, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. See, don't confuse provisioning and write-off. Write-off is the next stage. It won't come as provision. They've already been provided for earlier. So now it has been removed from the books totally. So that is the reason I'm saying that when we say a thing of 322, that 68 does not figure in because the AUM has already been removed. We have written it off. So there is no need for a provisioning for a site which has been written off. If you write back and if you had not written back, the provisioning would still be there.
Okay, so your standing provision on the book X of the write-off is what now?
Yes, exactly.
No, I just wanted to get that number from you, please.
The number is 322 crores.
322 crores. Okay, got it. Okay, so now I think that I'm just trying to get your perspective on incremental provisions from here on, right? How should we think about that?
So I'd answered this couple of times during this call itself. The year provision required for the entire year now, as per the ECL, working comes to about 300 and less than this amount. We have provided 322 crores. This is actually slightly about 15-16 crores less. We have provided that more. So we have, barring unforeseen circumstances, we should not be having additional provision for quarter 4. We have adequately taken care of that. And we find if the restructured portfolio works better, this can even come down. The provisioning can even come down.
Okay. And one final question, right? I think you made some comments around growth in this book, right? So which geographies are you trying to grow your book from here on?
We are now absolutely, very well diversified. We are in 23, 24 states now. And this particular year, there has been a, very subdued growth. Even if we grow, we will grow uniformly across all geographies, but our growth will be more pronounced in the central and northern region this time, not in south and east. Our new branches which we are planning would come in the central and central, west and northern region, and not in south and eastern region.
Thank you. We would request the current participant to please come back in the question queue for any follow-up questions, as we have several participants waiting for their turn. The next question is from the line of Pratik Agrawal from ASK Investment Managers Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. One comment on the presentation. I really like the slide number 29, which talks of risk control on the MFI piece. The question that I have is on gold loan growth. Now, if you look at several other banks who are active in this space, they have shown a growth which is substantially higher than what we have. So, what is happening? and it is not as if those banks had a substantially lower AUM. Yes, one had actually higher AUM, others may be lower, but yet their growth of 10%, 6% sequential is significantly different from sub 3% that we have achieved. So really want to understand that what is happening.
See, you are aware that their cap on LTV has been hiked to 90% temporarily up to March 31st. So many of the customers who pledged with them would have availed the more LTV, and also they were able to get more loans also because of this temporary advantage. We feel like when the temporary advantage goes, and will be the growth rate will come down. This is our feel. This is what the feel we get from the market.
Okay, understood. So post next quarter, the growth rates could again swing to your favor, is what you are saying.
See, this year, we expect the momentum to be maintained because the more and more activities are happening, the businesses are coming to the normalcy. So because of the normalcy in both in agri and other sectors, we feel like the growth momentum will be maintained.
Sure. And lastly, from my side, now that the economy is all opening up and things are close to normal, how is the last quarter going for you? Last quarter is usually a strong quarter for you.
Yeah, that's why. See now, many of the segments are closed where we used to get good business. Like the academic institutions are still closed. In many sectors, the industry, cottage industry are slowly picking up, and the migrant laborers are returning for work, etc., etc. We see all these as positive, and the government's funding of infrastructure, which is expected to increase during the last quarter. We hope all these will help us in loan growth.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prateek Chheda from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. I just wanted one clarification on GNPA numbers. Just wanted to understand these GNPA numbers that you've put out. Is this based on the Supreme Court order? And if not, what is the pro forma GNPA across segments?
This is on the book, the total ENPA. So the 1.26 is gold loan plus vehicle finance mostly. So we have not done the Supreme Court adjustment in the standalone entity.
So what would be the pro forma GNPA? I wanted to understand that.
I will get back to you because the NPA numbers reported is as per the books.
Okay. And just wanted to understand what is the level of restructuring that has been done in the gold loan book. I mean, MFI you suggested around 1 lakh customers have been accounts have been restructured. But what is it in the gold loan book?
Yeah, no restructuring, even moratorium also nil only.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Radhika Lohia from Mirae Asset. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
So there has been an increase in the Ashirvad profitability, and what has accounted as this other income. So can you please tell me what is included in the other income?
Sajid.
Other income normally includes our documentation, that processing fee of 1%. Then we have income from fixed deposits which we have placed for as collateral. And the third is, we also do some cross-selling of products to the customers. All these three put together is in other income.
Okay. And my next question is that can you give me some idea on your incremental yields on your loan book, like specifically for the gold loan segment?
Yeah, the yield will be maintained.
So any percentage if you can give me?
No, the incremental yield will be the same only. Will be maintained. There won't be much difference.
Okay, that is it from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashwin Kumar Balasubramaniam from HSBC Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question. Basically, your gold tonnage has come down slightly, while your gold AUM has increased quarter on quarter. So if I'm not wrong, the gold prices also July to September quarter were slightly on the higher side as compared to the October-December quarter, and since your product is mainly 3-month product, so just wanted to understand. Just wanted to understand how the AUM has actually grown.
See, it's a very usual phenomenon. When the gold prices are up, the tonnage will come down, because even then the growth of, so we are getting some growth of some 10 to 20%. And when the gold prices are down, then also we get around 10 to 15% growth. It means that the gold prices are down, the tonnage increases. The gold prices up, the tonnage will go down. Because of this reason, people borrow money for their use. They borrow 10,000 rupees or 20,000. They bring ornaments to avail that loan only. No, that's the reason. So because when they avail, these people avail a loan of 15,000 or 20 or 50,000 rupees, they are always conscious about the need of early redemption, because these are all family jewelry.
Right.
Yeah.
I got that. My question is more, on a sequential basis between the Q2 and Q3, because Q2 and Q3 there has not been much price increase. Okay, right? I mean, the price, gold price will come down.
Yeah, the difference will tell you the exact difference Q3 and Q2 Q3.
AUM grew by 2.4%.
AUM is grown by 2.4%, and the tonnage is almost flat only this quarter. But ma'am already told that there is a 67,000 net increase in the number of customers. Okay, that way the business is there, and new customer also
4.35 lakhs.
It is increasing on the Q3 only. The result of tonnage is exactly related to the this price also linking, because their customer is coming with some 25,000 need. They may carry some gold, so that is only reflecting in the tonnage. So that the increase and decrease is happening, but the business side there is an increase of 67,000 customer net addition is happened, and new customer also compared to Q2 it is increased by around 50,000 additionally is happened compared to Q2.
Okay, and would there be an increase in LTV also, or LTV will be similar?
63% now. So that 59% was in Q2. Now it is 63. So because of the price slight reduction, that may increase. That is directly increased in that 10%. But still it is 63%.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viraj Mehta from Equirus PMS. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello sir, and congratulations. So just had one question on funding profile. If you look at our liability mix, that has changed considerably in spite of our business being extremely robust. We have almost completely shunned CP market compared to where we were a couple of years back. Do you feel that we have gone really defensive in terms of our liability profile, which is affecting our cost of borrowing? And do you think we will make any changes there?
Yeah, Viraj. See, this year with the government support, a lot of long-term money was available and it was coming at a slightly lower cost. So we thought of making that opportunity. Taking that opportunity. That is the reason temporarily our CP exposure has come down. But definitely, I think the further requirements, definitely we will use CP. This will help us in reducing the cost of borrowing further. But these bonds are available for a particular time only. That is the reason last 9 months the bonds which are available, which is coming at comparatively lower rate. The last transaction we did 3-year money at less than 7.5. So that is the reason we thought of taking the opportunity and reducing the CP exposure temporarily. So with the increase in tenure, quarter on quarter our cost of borrowing is coming down. So this will give us some benefit in the long term. Almost 60% of the liability is long term and it is not with extra cost. So that is the reason we did that. But going forward we can increase the CP exposure. We can manage as our assets are short term. We can definitely manage with the CP as long term money is available. At a lower cost, we thought of doing the bonds which is available.
Sure. Just ma'am, one thing, in our longer term goal, what will be the ideal liability structure in terms of CPs to bonds? I mean, are there any percentages in mind?
See, we were managing with 25% CP, 25% NCDs and 50% through WCDL and cash credits. But now with the ECB transaction and the bond transactions, almost 60% is long term and 8% is CP and the balance is WCDL and cash credit. So we can comfortably manage 15 to 20% CP as our majority of the assets are short term. That is possible. 15 to 20% we can manage.
Thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Due to time constraints, we take the last question from Anand Jhavar from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, quickly, I wanted to know, now that hopefully COVID effect is behind us, would we be looking at increasing our gold loan branches? Because last few years we've just consolidated our position. So brick and mortar model, are we going to go ahead and increase it again as the economy recovers, or we'll focus more on the digital acceleration to get the customers? Because as I understand, last quarter we got some 60,000 new customers. And would that be a run rate that we can expect going forward?
So we intend to follow both. Expanding our reach digitally. We have started the doorstep gold loan also, delivery at his home, doorsteps. And we applied to Reserve Bank for around 300 branches in North India, where we see very good potential. Maybe because the RBI, the functioning was a little slow because of many people were working from home, etc., etc. So we hope the permission will come without much delay. then we will open these 300 branches in accordance with the permissions from RBI.
Sir, any timeline for that? Within a year, like calendar year 21 or?
We hope so. All depend on the permission from the regulator.
And second question regarding the 60,000 customer acquisition for the quarter run rate, which turns around 2.4 lakh annually. Can we expect that? Because obviously you guided for 15% growth on the gold loan AUM, but customer acquisition has not been very aggressive, obviously because of COVID and the consolidation was more important. But now that COVID is behind, would we look to chase customers aggressively over what we've done in the past 1 year?
Yeah. We are doing that, and we hope the momentum will be maintained.
Just to add to that, 67,000 is the net increase in the customer base. During the quarter, we could get nearly 4 lakh new customers. This is the live customers as on 30th September and 31st December. What is the difference? So on the customer base, there is a net increase of 67,000, but during the quarter, we added nearly 4 lakh new customers in gold loan.
Understood. Thank you. Sir, one follow-up question regarding, so because if we are expecting 300 branches to be added, let's say within a year's time, subject to approval, so the OPEX would, I would think, go up from 5.5 what we are currently to maybe, because earlier, before 2-3 years back, I remember it used to be around 8%, which has come down to sub-6. So what could be the cost increase because of?
I don't think so, because these 300 branches, the branch opening will be phased quarter on quarter, and will be able to achieve break-even within 1 year. That is what we expect. So, and the yield, the net interest margin, we hope it will be improved slightly, because the cost of borrowing is coming down, and we plan to increase the short-term borrowing CP a little bit. So all these will take care of the additional cost because of this. So we hope to maintain, even with the 300 branches opening in a phased manner, we hope the OPEX will be maintained at this level.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the all the explanation and great numbers. All the best for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
So, yes, we hope we have answered all the questions to the satisfaction of the attendees. And thank you all for the participation, and also the organizers for that. Thank you.